Hola, mijos. I have a new story. This one is called Egbert and the Fisherman. I wonder what Egbert's doing there in the water. Relax. Close your eyes and imagine a duke's son, Egbert, who thought he was the most important person in the world. Egbert believed that he could be as rude as he liked and order everyone about, until a kindly fisherman taught him an important lesson. One morning, Egbert was being carried around the palace in a sedan chair by his servants, Benson and Merryweather. It wasn't that Egbert couldn't walk. He was very lazy and didn't like to do anything for himself. "I want to go boating," Egbert said to Benson. "But, Master Egbert, there's a storm coming," stuttered Benson. He was scared. He knew Egbert didn't like it when people said no to him. "I don't care. I'm the Duke's son, and I want to go boating right now," shouted Egbert. Benson and Merryweather, puffing and panting, carried Egbert and his sedan chair down to the 108 steps of the palace, out of the gate and toward the sea. "Watch it, you're bumping me," complained Egbert. The two exhausted servants hauled Egbert along one of the rocky roads to the harbor. Egbert moaned and groaned, then demanded to be carried faster. Merryweather finally lost his temper. He gave the sedan chair an almighty push, and Benson dropped it too. "I've had enough of you and your wicked tongue," Merryweather cried. Egbert and the chair rolled down the hill out of control. Sorry that he'd lost his temper, Merryweather ran with Benson after Egbert, but they couldn't stop him plopping into the sea with a great splash. Clinging to the chair, Egbert bobbed up and down in the water. Just then the storm arrived. Lightning flashed across the sky, and waves were whipped high by the wind. Egbert had never been so frightened. "Help!" he cried. "Somebody help me!" Io was a fisherman who had been caught by the storm, who'd also been caught by the storm, but he was experienced and very calm. He'd hauled in his sail and patiently waited for the storm to pass. He spun the ship hard in the direction of Egbert's cries. Another flash of lightning lit up Egbert clinging to his sedan chair in the sea. Io thought quickly. "I'll haul him in with my fishing net," he said to the pet parrot who kept him company. Io threw out his net, caught Egbert first time, and pulled him aboard. Egbert lay on the deck, feeling very sorry for himself. "You're a strange-looking fish," chuckled Io. "How disrespectful! I'm the Duke's son. How dare he laugh?" thought Egbert furiously, but he said nothing. He was frightened of this man with his tattoos and eye patch. "Come on, Io," ruffling Egbert's hair. "We'll get you dried off and—" Oh, I said that wrong. "Come on," said Io, ruffling Egbert's hair. "We'll get you dried off and get some warm soup in you." Egbert was red hot with anger. "How dare he touch me with his great peasant hands," he thought. The storm passed, and Io sailed safely into port. Egbert pretended to be grateful. He tried to smile, but it hurt his face, as he wasn't used to smiling. He said thank you, but felt sick speaking that unfamiliar word out loud. To Io's face he said, "When I am made Duke, I will reward you most generously." But under his breath, Egbert nodded, as if. When Egbert returned to the palace, he bragged that he had saved himself using his brain power and his excellent swimming. But everyone knew that Egbert never bothered to use his brain, and what's more, never did any exercise. "He doesn't even walk anywhere, let alone swim," they said. The following year, Io was sailing near the Duke's harbor. "Perhaps I'll pay a visit to my young friend," Io said to his parrot. "Let's see how he's getting along." Egbert's father had died, and Egbert was now the Duke. The morning that Io decided to visit, Egbert was laying under a big red canopy on the palace terrace, having his toes massaged. He spied the great hulk of Io coming up the hill. "Ah, that disrespectful oaf is back, looking for handouts," he thought. "I must get rid of him before he tells anyone that he rescued me." Egbert shouted to his guards, "Arrest that man! He's a thief and a thug! Throw him in the dungeon!" Egbert's bodyguards didn't dare challenge him. They arrested Io, bound his hands, and took him to the dungeon. It was market day in the city square. Traders were selling fruit and vegetables, spices, and fresh fish. Paolo, the grocer, spied his friend Io being led away in chains and demanded to know where the guards were taking him. "He is being sent to the dungeons. He is a thug and a thief," replied the chief guard. "Nonsense," exclaimed Paolo. "I know this man, and he is a decent and honest fellow." A crowd gathered, and several others recognized Io. Marino, the spice trader, said, "He is the kindest man I know." Nino, the goldsmith, said, "Io helps everyone he can." And Claude, the fishmonger, said, "I'd trust Io with my life. What's more, I know that Io saved Duke Egbert's life." Then Claude told the gathering crowd the whole story. "Egbert is ungrateful and a liar," the people cried. The angry crowd ran to the palace demanding justice. "Down with Egbert! Io for chief minister!" they cried. Ashamed and frightened, Egbert didn't know what to do. "Let Io decide on Egbert's punishment," said Paolo. Io thought for a while, then he said, "Egbert should be a fisherman for 1 year and 1 day. I can't think of a better way of teaching him patience and humility." After a year and a day as a poor fisherman, Egbert had learned the value of helping people and was grateful when people helped him in turn. He became kind and generous and relied on Io as his wise counselor. The people of the dukedom agreed they had the best ruler in the world. However important we are, we all need the help of other people. Using kind and generous words is the best way of making sure that we receive support and friendship from others. That sounds like a good idea. I love you, boys. And I will talk to you later. Love you. Bye.